BigHerc916, positivity, motivation, never settle for average. You know, we do it over here. The pendulum swings both ways, man. When something goes so far in one direction, it eventually has to come back and correct itself in the other direction. And whether someone wants to believe that or not, it's just human nature. Nature has a way of preserving itself, and this earth is millions of years old, and there's been multiple civilizations, and they did things and tried things, and when things got so far out of whack, those civilizations ceased to exist. Just like certain species of animals have become extinct because of circumstances that went the other direction. And it's no different than today. A lot of this whack shit that is being pushed on social media and in the news, certain agendas, certain narratives, you know, things appear to be happening a lot faster now because of access, but what's going on is actually no different than what's been happening throughout the times. You know, a lot of these concepts of destroying the family, blatant crime, dirty politics, just these wild narratives where you have groups trying to control masses or push their beliefs onto a majority. They've all failed. And then what happens is they try to do a reset and plan it out another 30 to 100 years. But the pendulum always swings back the other direction. So there's no need to be scared. There's no need to be in fear or worry about the end of the world or, you know, people falling out the sky and all this craziness. That's all part of their game plan. They used to say that back in the day about the barbarians invading behind the gates. They would say it about the wild animals and you know, they were back then even trying to convince people that, you know, they didn't need to have certain things to keep their families together. See, everything starts with the family, with the value system of the family. Once you can destroy that and get rid of the man in that relationship, it's easy to come in and control the kids and the mom, because you have no backbone, you have no structure. But not all men are falling for the bullshit. And a lot of men, the silent majority, maybe they don't have the platforms, but I know plenty of them, they're strong in their beliefs, they're not with the bullshit, and they see that a lot of what's being basically promoted is not really the majority, and it's not the norm. If it was the norm, you would see a lot more people, you know, sitting around, and when you would go into these different towns, it would be something of a landing platform for these different agendas. And it's not. A lot of those places, they don't even want to hear about that bullshit. But, you know, in order to have, I would say, this massive control, they got to keep pushing these just way out narratives that are part of, you know, depopulation, because you're not going to have two people that have the same organs producing kids. You know, they got to poison us through the foods. They got to poison us through whatever other, you know, what they say that you need to in order to be safe. anytime they say something in order to be safe, you got to, pretty much turn opposite direction. I look at almost everything I hear now, I go look for counter information because I know it's not true. And I know it's something, if they're pushing it, because, this is almost like the Tower of Babel. And when you think about the Tower of Babel and seeking knowledge, one of the things they say in the ancient, scriptures was that, people lived to be at a certain point. Some of these kings were ruling thousands of years and people were living, hundreds and hundreds of years. Now, if you had that much time on this earth to really study and live life and have life experiences, because everything comes through life experiences. That's why it's so important to have elders in your life. A lot of people don't value their elders, but elders are very important. Being able to have a grandmother, great-grandmother, great-grandfather, great-uncle to talk about how things were, because a lot of times the things that you read about are from a perspective of an agenda. It's not a perspective from somebody who's lived during those times and told you what it was like from their living experience. It's from somebody who's writing something in order to maybe have an objective behind that writing. So having elders is so important. And if you think about what they got rid of in the last couple of years was a lot of the elders. A lot of the elderly people were the first ones who were affected by what. And so having elders is so important. But let me get back to what I was talking about, the Tower of Babel, and the way people were living back then and the amount of time they said they were on this earth. If you're here long enough and you can see things, you can share things with the younger generation, and together you can create change before things become apocalyptic, before things get to a point where you're looking at a world war situation or a total annihilation of a particular demographic or race of human beings. So you would have people with superior knowledge who, because of their life experiences, said, what, I've seen this before and this is what they did in that situation. See, right now, what you're looking at, and everybody's looking at things in short form, it's just quick information. And if you look at like a lot of what's happened through history, it's not quick. It's not a quick clip. It's in stages, and you can see the stages and what's going on right now, and how this is nothing new. This is not like this hasn't been tried before to put everybody under like a certain type of just doctrine or belief system, And so if you have any common sense, I would say that at the end of the day, common sense is going to overrule a lot of this crazy narratives that are being, just promoted. I just saw, on PBD where, what was it? On, I think, Miss Alabama, they had this woman who was like 23 and obese, and she was Miss Alabama. And then you had I think it was Maryland, they had a man who beat out all these women. How does that even make sense? I'm not saying as an adult, do what you want to do, but to say that that's healthy for Miss Alabama to be promoting that type of lifestyle to young girls, and then to sit here and say that a man that's transitioned is more attractive than these women who've lived their whole life as women in a beauty pageant. Have your own beauty pageant. If you want to have a full figure beauty pageant, have that too. But all this stuff that they're trying to make seem normalized is not the norm. It's not the norm, man. It's not the norm for these guys to be so weak that they can't speak up or stand up for their families, that they have no ability to speak their mind or defend themselves as men. It's not the norm. Whether you feel that you don't want your child to be, this kid who's overly aggressive, whatever. No, for a man, there's certain things that, make a man a man. And, I'm not saying you have to beat on your chest, but it's another one of the things that, why this whole flip for people trying to promote alpha male and tough guy stuff is so popular right now. And even that's a lot of bullshit, talking loud and barking, that don't make you tough either. And a lot of those guys are getting exposed. But overall, going back to, like I said, men and masculinity, I don't care if you can't take your shirt off. It don't mean shit. You're still a man. You can still take care of your family. You can still handle your business. It don't make you any less than the guy who picks up all the weights, because that guy, he might be strong, but it don't mean he's fast enough to handle his business. It don't mean he's any better than the guy who doesn't take his shirt off, but who works, 12 hours a day to take care of his family. And as far as the women out there, I don't know why you put up with all this shit and why you allow the narrative to divide you and make things racial when you guys are all in the same battle. You're in a battle to protect your womanhood, but you're allowing these men to come over and steal everything that makes you a woman. Men cannot be you. That's just, Mr. Rogers said it. Those are pretend. You're the real deal. So, yeah, men out there, hey man, props out to you. I don't care if you're not benching 300 something pounds or squatting 600. Look, man, do you, but take care of your family, have a value system, protect your kids, strive to have your family be better each generation going forward. Women, continue to raise up strong young men and women, and allow children to be children. When you're a kid, I used to play a lot of make-believe. I thought I was Aquaman when I was in a tub. When I was in a tree, I thought I was Spider-Man. When I was on my BMX bike, I thought I was Captain America. Man, shit, I was all over the place. But one thing was, when you're a child, you're a child. And I feel like I didn't even really mature until my late 20s. And then when I got out of prison in my 30s, I still had a lot to learn. So to think that a lot of these choices, you're giving children the opportunity to try to decide to make at 12, 11, 10, 8, 9, 5, 6, you got to be a damn fool, man. And the pendulum is swinging back the other direction. It's swinging back. People aren't going to continue to entertain the nonsense. And a lot of these people who think that just being able to take from others, there's no consequence. Hey man, there's a consequence. And we all got to work together. If we all help each other, at the end of the day, we'll have a better society. And it's not about race. It's not about what color your skin is. It's about community and the fact that if one of us could help the other, we could all live together better. But those who don't want to, those who are sitting there saying, hey man, I this, I'm entitled to this, I'm gonna do that, I'm gonna do this. Look, man, I'm like this. I would want my neighbor to look out for me. So if you're doing something to my neighbor, you need a wig split. And if the neighbor sees you doing something to me, I'm assuming that he's gonna split your wig too. So just keep that in mind, that if you're one of those who are thinking that you can just violate everybody and nothing happens, well, you got another thing coming. So BigHerc916, go to BigHerc916.com, pick up some merch, represent, and let me know what you guys think about the pendulum concept. And like I said, the Tower of Babel, and I don't know if I fully got to it because I got on the tangent, but the Tower of Babel is one of the reasons that was knocked, was because if you had enough time to really look at everything, you would figure out life's mysteries. You'd figure out, the key to internal bliss. And they had to cut our lifespan back to like would have been now in person if they lived to be over 100. But just think if you could live, 200-300 years. And even now, when you think back, you're like, man, if I would have known that in my 20s, man, what could I have done? And I'm saying that now, and I still have a lot to learn. So, in your perspective, looking back from where you're at now, what would you have done different if you were in your 20s, in your 30s? There's a lot of things I bet you would have done different, but imagine before the Tower of Babel, if you would have lived to be 200-300 years, 400 years, think about the game you would have had and what you could have shared with your young ones and how much better and how far advanced society could be. Because if you have somebody who's been here for 300 years and they're giving you game from 300 years ago, right now, you could advance society, sciences, arts that much faster. So of course they don't want you to live too long, because the longer you're here, the more game you got, especially if you're somebody who's, traveled somewhat and interacted with a bunch of different people. And so, when I look at stuff, man, I'm not a Bible buff. I'm not one of these guys who are going to try to tell you, preach to you about this or that. I just listen to little things, and I've read some stuff, and I just sit back and reflect and let my internal conscious try to break down what is the meaning. And in my perspective, I'm looking at there's a reason why they meaning whoever has changed our DNA over the course of time to where we only have a 100-year life cycle, why they changed that life cycle because of just our level of advancement and maybe the destruction that came along with that advancement when people thought they were, just too far above maybe humanity. I don't know, there could be a lot of different things, but these are the things I think about when I look at just society and how they're pushing some of these just these ignorant ass concepts, man, and things that really don't make any common sense. So leave a comment, share the video, let me know what you think. BigHerc916.
I didn't start off as a bad kid. Officially, I only got one real spanking my entire life. My mom did the best a 14-year-old could do, raising me with love and instilling values that will last a lifetime. I was a straight A student and lived to make her happy. So how did I go astray? A horrible stepdad that stole my self-worth and invoked fear turned me into a person that I struggled to overcome. From skateboarding to selling drugs, gang banging in juvenile hall, I got caught the same way many young promising men get caught up. I struggled to find my identity, getting mixed up in shootouts, crime, and the adult entertainment industry. This roller coaster continued as I juggled college, hustling, and Hollywood, eventually catching a federal bank robbery case. I found redemption in prison while serving a 120-month federal sentence and came out a man on a mission. I became a social media influencer with over 500 million views on YouTube and a life coach mentoring people all over the world. This is my journey, against all odds.
Are you tired of smelling funky? Have you washed your ass? Go to BigHerc916.com and get your nutsack right.